Welcome to the Pony Pundits for Friday, October 30th. We got a special edition show this week. We're going to break from our normal format, and we're going to take an advanced look at some of the Breeders' Cup races next week. Friday and Saturday is Breeders' Cup at Keeneland Racecourse, and we will have some special videos next week. We're going to do it differently next week here with the Pony Pundits. Instead of having our show on Friday, which the first day of the Breeders' Cup will already be in action while we're doing the show. So we're going to have some individual videos next week where we break down, Sig, the races for the Breeders' Cup. And we're going to do the big race on Friday. And first of all, let me introduce you. Everybody knows you. You are Sig Las Vegas. You can follow him on Twitter, my partner in crime, at Sig Las Vegas. Sig, exciting times. Breeders' Cup, it's like, the Super Bowl of horse racing. We know the Triple Crown is what gets all of the attention during the year. But at the end of the year, there's going to be a lot of decisions on horse of the year and such with these big races. Not to mention, there's quite a bit of money being handed out next Friday and Saturday at Keeneland, some major purses. I know you're excited for it. Tell us, you got something special coming for our viewers. Tell us about that special offer you got going for us.
Yeah, Marco, we did the Breeders' Cup preview and wagering guide last year at WagerTalk. Had a lot of success. People raved about it. We're doing it again. Right now, if you order it, do the pre-order right now. It's going to be just $29.99 if you order before midnight on Monday, November 2nd. After that, it goes back to our normal price of $39.99 for the rest of the week leading up to the Breeders' Cup. But what we do is we break down every individual horse in every individual race for Friday and Saturday, all the Breeders' Cup races. You also get my selections and wagering strategies for Friday's card and for Saturday's card. The guide also breaks down a lot of information about historical Breeders' Cup results, the betting options for all the various wagers that will be available on both Friday and Saturday. There's some special wagers, daily doubles that go Friday and Saturday. There's a number of pick fours on the cards, a couple pick fives. So it's basically a great reference book for you to get you ready for Breeders' Cup. And then on Breeders' Cup days, you'll have my wagering strategies and how I'm going to attack the cards on both Friday and Saturday.
Good stuff. Looking forward to getting that. Maybe I'll, since I know you, I'll get a little advanced copy of that when it's out. When will that be posted, Sig?
Right now, if you pre-order, you'll get the first few pages. Once we draw post positions, they're going to be drawn on Monday, and I'll actually be flying into Vegas on Monday. So starting on Tuesday, I'm going to start uploading the information on the races. And what I do is the document's continually evolving all week long. Number one, we know there's always a lot of changes and scratches and so forth that occur during the week leading up to Breeders' Cup. And there's also going to be the weather question. Being Keeneland in November, we could have some inclement weather. I mean, when they hold this at Santa Anita or Del Mar or Gulfstream, we don't worry about that. But when the Breeders' Cup is held in a more northern area like New York or Kentucky in November, we run the risk of dealing with the weather. So we're going to keep an eye on the forecast and keep an eye on what the track conditions are. And every time I update the document, I tweet and I note it on the page. And once you purchase a document, it will be in your account at WagerTalk. Every time I do an update to it, if you just re-download it, you'll get the most updated version that's currently available.
Yes, and you only pay once and you get all of the updates. Let's let that be clear for everybody. You'll find that at WagerTalk under your My Plays section, and then you go down to My Downloads, and you'll find your Sig's report once you buy it. All right, Sig, what we're going to do is we're going to run through the Breeder Cup races from Friday and Saturday. Now, obviously, we don't know post positions. And in some of these instances, we don't even know for sure which horse is racing in which race. Some of these horses have a first choice and a second choice. And you can explain to our viewers why they have two choices. You'd think, well, we know what we want to race in, but just because you want to race in it, if there's too many in there, you're not going to get in. Some horses won't get in and might have to go to a second choice. So explain that.
Right. A number of these races are oversubscribed. The max number of starters in the gate for any of these races would be 14. Some of these races have more than 20 horses that have tried to enter the race. When they draw the races, they basically, the horses and the trainers, the connections, give the Breeders' Cup like preferences, first preference, second preference, and depending on where they draw, they may end up getting their second preference and not drawing into their first preference. So they still want to run on Breeders' Cups Friday or Saturday. So they may run a different race than what their first choice is. But a number of these horses that we'll talk about today may not end up in the race that we talk about them, and they may end up in another race on the Breeders' Cup card.
Yeah, it makes it tough. But with so many races and so many horses, obviously we want to get started and work on the horses. So you've been working on this now, leading up to it and doing your homework. And I'm looking forward to the guide. I know the guide last year was a great success, and looking forward to seeing this year's guide from you once again. Well, let's get right into it and head to Keeneland. We're going to go to Friday and kick things off with the Friday card, and it is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Interesting race, Sig. This will be race number 6, I believe, on the Friday card. Yes, it is race 6. It's a 5.5 furlong race. And Sig, who do you see as being the favorite coming out of this race, provided the horses that want to get in here get in where they want to be?
Right. Based on where the current draw stands right now, Wesley Lord has a number of chances in here. I think he has a possible 10 horses out of this field that could possibly draw into this field. I'd like his one. I think it's going to be your morning line favorite, Golden Powell. Has only won 1 out of 3 career races, but this horse is a missile out of the gate. This horse fires out of the gate and has speed, unbelievable speed. In the first couple of races, the first one was a maiden at Gulfstream, got caught, may have went a little too fast early, learning experience. Then they ship her over to Ascot, and she runs against some of the best 2-year-olds over in Europe. Again, fires out of the gate, takes the lead, gets caught right at the wire. But then she came back and won at Saratoga and looked fantastic. I'm sorry, he came back and won at Saratoga and looked fantastic. I think Golden Powell is your morning line favorite. A couple other horses you may want to consider if you're multi-race wagers: Amonzi and Pio after 5 if she goes here, and Bodenheimer.
All right. One horse you didn't mention, out of door. This is a horse that first preference is the Juvenile Turf. Are you pretty confident that that's where that horse is going to land?
Yeah, out of door drew into the Juvenile Turf field, so that was her first preference. I see her going there.
Okay. And I just want to make one comment where you talked about these horses. There's going to be a lot of European invaders Breeders' Cup Day. I don't know how you feel, but I look at it in the horse that you talked about. They're raced over there at Royal Ascot, and then come back and had a race back here in the U.S. I like to see these European horses have a race here in the U.S. and get acclimated over here before the Breeders' Cup. I know horses have had success on Breeders' Cup Day without that formula, but I think it is a tremendous advantage if they do get a race here in the U.S. before the Breeders' Cup. What are your feelings on that?
A lot of these European horses, one of these European horses just raced last week and then shipping over for the Breeders' Cup next week. So it's going to be a 2-week layoff, a transatlantic trip. I don't like that. But a number of them, have just raced within the past month here. So a lot of them are just on the European circuit and coming in strictly for Breeders' Cup. A horse like Golden Powell's a North American bred horse who Ward takes his best horses over to Ascot every year and gives them a shot at the prestige of winning at Ascot, which is it's probably the biggest meet over the year in Europe.
No question about it. Race number 7 on Friday is the Juvenile Turf. That is a 1-mile race. A lot of interesting horses in here, and one horse in here, Sig, that just ties my tongue every time I try to say it. So I'll let you tell us the horses you're looking at. I have a couple horses that I took some notes on in this one. If they land in this race, go ahead and tell us how you see the Juvenile Turf Mile on Friday.
All right, Marco. Well, just looking at this field here, I think I'm going to be looking at the European horses. I think there's 2 standouts in here, Battleground and New Mandate. But a number of other horses can win in here. Remember, guys, these are lightly raised 2-year-olds. They're constantly developing. We see it all through the 2-year-old and the 3-year-old season. So a horse can come back and put out a fantastic effort after maybe what we consider a lackluster effort. The trainer, Aidan O'Brien, is bringing in Battleground. He's one of the most famous horse trainers in the world. Battleground hasn't raced since July, but O'Brien's trained the winner of this race 4 out of 13 times it's been run. The other one I'm looking at is New Mandate, who has won his last 3 races, and most likely he's going to have superstar international jockey Frankie Dettori in the reins for him. A couple of the other horses to consider in here, Cadillac, who only had 1 bad race, and that was on a soft turf course. Devil Walla, 100-1 in his last race, only finished 2 3/4 lengths back. Go Atletico, who's never been worse than second in his career. And Public Sector for Chad Brown's the only North American horse that I'm probably going to be using on my multi-race wagers here, just because Chad Brown shows up at Breeders' Cup ready to go.
Yeah, the horse I had written down, Cadillac, you mentioned that horse coming over from Ireland, and, its last race, you said, had 1 bad race. Well, it happened to be the last one, but had 2 impressive wins before that. I look at that horse, and then the Todd Pletcher horse. And how do you say that horse, Sig?
Back.
Yeah, that one intrigued me a little bit as well. 2 wins in 3 starts. Only loss was to Jackie's Warrior, and that's never going to hurt your resume. Losing to Jackie's Warrior is your only loss of your career. So that's an interesting horse as well. The thing with that horse is $425,000 yearling purchase, stone cold closer. If we get a fast pace in here, this could set up for this one to be flying late, but going to be a good race nonetheless. Moving on the Friday card, it is the Juvenile Phillies. They'll be going 1 mile and 1/16, Sig. Who do you got in this one as the top horses you're looking at?
The Juvenile Phillies here, the first thing you're going to notice about this race is that all these entrants have never finished worse than second in their short careers, except Thoughtfully, who finished 4th in her last outing. I think the undefeated Bob Baffert filly, Princess Noor, will be your morning line favorite and your post-time favorite, but I believe a few horses in here have a much better chance, and it's going to be a much better price come front next Friday.
I agree. I have Princess Noor as my morning line favorite. You've got an undefeated horse. You've got Baffert Factor. He gets bet no matter what he has. But 2 horses that I had on my radar as well is Day Out of the Office and Girl Daddy intrigue me. And Girl Daddy, a $500,000 yearling purchase, 2 for 2. And, with these juvenile races, we talk about it. These are going to be, in a aptly called Friday, the future stars, because these are going to be the horses, say, that we're going to be following early next year, with different horses leading up to, different races, obviously, the road to the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks and everything else. So these 2-year-olds, this is a fun time to watch and see these horses develop and who's going to carry that on to next year. And, we'll talk about it after when we do the recap of the Breeders' Cup races and stuff the following week. That's going to help set the Kentucky Derby future book, that first book that'll come out when we see all of these horses and who's going to establish themselves as the favorite. And we know that classic race, a lot of times everybody says, well, there's your Kentucky Derby favorite for next year. They don't always come back and race well. I know that happened to last year's juvenile winner. Didn't have a good year at all this year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Moving on to race number 9 on the Friday card. It is the Juvenile Phillies Turf. It is a 1-mile race. Sig, how do you see this one?
I think we're on the Juvenile Turf now. We already covered the Juvenile Philly Turf.
Okay, my bad. So go ahead.
I apologize. Marco, you're correct.
Oh,
you're correct.
There you go. Okay. Confused me there. I had my notes so properly prepared, sir. Okay, it's race 9. It's the Juvenile Phillies Turf 1 mile. Come on, get with the program, Sig.
Up with the program. Juvenile Phillies Turf. Historically, you need to consider Chad Brown, as he's trained 5 of the 12 winners of this event. He only has one in here, and that horse is Editor at Large, who has a slight chance, in my opinion. But I believe there's a number of the horses in here that have a chance. And I think there's a good chance that this could be the race that provides the bomb for multi-race wagers. I think the undefeated Plum Ali will most likely be your morning line favorite and your post-time favorite. But this race looks like it may be fast early, setting it up for a closer, which may benefit the European horses. Some other horses to consider in the field here are Campanelle, and Pearl, Mother Earth, Miss Amulet, Onodata, and Royal Approval. You'll notice most of those were the European invaders.
The horse that I agree with you with Plum Ally. The other one, the Campanelle. Is there a question of where this one's going to be? Because I think that horse has a big shot, but it has 2 different races listed. Do you see her in this race?
Yeah, Campanelle's first preference was this race, the Juvenile Phillies Turf, and she did draw into the field, so I see her going here.
All right, I see the 2 of those horses taking the money. And another horse I had on my radar, you didn't mention, Simply Ravishing. Is that horse going to end up in a different race, or will she be in here?
Simply Ravishing, I believe, ended up in the Juvenile Phillies. Let me check. Yep, she drew in there, so she'll most likely go in that spot.
Okay. Going on to race Sig, this is race 10. It's the TVG Breeders' Cup Juvenile. This is the race we're waiting for on Friday. This is where we might be seeing the favorite of the Kentucky Derby next year. I think there's one horse in here that stands out. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Everybody and all the money, and everybody's going to be on Jackie's Warrior. Undefeated, looks fantastic. But guys, if you remember last year, Breeders' Cup Juvenile, all the money and all the word was on Dennis's Moment, the Dale Romans trainee that looked fantastic. Didn't run a step, actually got injured in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year and took a while to come back from it. We had a big long shot in there with
was it Storm the Court?
Exactly. Storm the Court, who basically blew up the tote board and blew up all the multi-race wagers to close out the Friday card. Jackie's Warrior is a really good horse. He's going to take the money, but there are a couple other horses in here that I think have a shot.
What's your thoughts on Essential Quality? That's the only other horse I wrote down in this one.
I like Essential Quality. I haven't completed all my handicapping yet for this race. Like I said, for the show prep right now, I was just looking at who I think is going to be the favorites right now. So, and there's another horse in here, King Fury, just won last weekend at Keeneland, and they're bringing him back in 2 weeks. I think it's a little bit of a rush, but there is some whispers out there that King Fury is a Derby type horse.
Yeah, and if it is a Derby type horse and you're racing a 2-year-old, I don't like that decision, bringing a horse back in 2 weeks. It's you're playing with fire. The 2-year-olds, they're still not fully developed yet. That's why they only get a handful of starts at 2. To build for that 3-year-old season, and to come back in a tough race like this on 2 weeks, I got to question the connections on that one. And that's me from my days of owning horses and knowing, how you gear, a young horse. And that's not a move that I would have ever consider in a race like this. But Jackie's Warrior, yes, will be the odds-on favorite. And, this is one that they didn't need us to tell them who was going to be the favorite in this one. Stevie Wonder read the program and picked Jackie's Warrior, okay? So, that's the odds-on favorite for that one.
I could not imagine the racing form in Braille.
Going to Saturday, the first race of the Breeders' Cup races is race 4, Sig, if you're following along. And that is a 7-furlong race. That is the Filly and Mare Sprint. Tell us how this one unfolds, because there's a couple horses that, there's some storylines in where a particular horse is going to race. And then there's a particular horse that's been in the headlines once again, but for the wrong reasons. And tell us about that.
This is actually going to be one of the smaller fields of Breeders' Cup weekend, as Frank's Rocket, who's also listed in here, did draw into the Breeders' Cup Sprint. She most likely will go there. And then Bellafina, who was entered in here, actually was scratched because she was retired earlier this week, right after they drew the race. But I think the morning line favorite and your post time favorite, if she makes it to the starting gate, is the Bob Baffert trainee Gamine. Was dominant in her starts leading up to Kentucky Oaks. In the Kentucky Oaks, she did show some weakness, but there has been a lot of news recently. She did test positive for a banned substance back in May at Oaklawn after winning, I believe it was an allowance race there. And then news broke again last week that she was again tested after the Kentucky Oaks, and they did find another banned substance in her. The connections and the barn are both denying it. But I think there's a chance Gamine may not make the starting gate next Saturday.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. And I actually was hoping Frank's Rocket would go in here. I wanted to see that battle between those two. And really would have been a big battle, because there's another horse in this race, Serengeti Empress, who's another horse that loves the front end. We could have had a ding-dong battle. Everybody can't control the race. I like to see the strategies with the jockeys, because obviously if everybody goes toe-to-toe, that's going to set it up for somebody that could probably pick up the pieces later. But with Frank's Rocket going to the other race, and the questions around Gamine, could change the complexion of this race drastically. But I agree with you. If Frank's Rocket is not in this race, and Gamine will be the favorite in this race, Bob Baffert. And once again, he'll have something to prove. And if you remember, after that first positive, the next time the horse raced, we didn't know what to think, because, if the horse tested positive, we're not going to see whatever the horse was on again. Baffert wouldn't do that. And of course it was a mistake. And, I think that was that the salon pause excuse?
That was the excuse that was used, was the salon pause patch.
Okay. All right. Come on, Bob. All right. Moving along to race number 5 on Saturday. That is the Turf Sprint. It is a 5.5 furlong race. And Sig, tell me who you got here. I only wrote down one horse in this one that's going to get the money. You tell. I'm curious to see if I'm right or wrong with your opinion.
Well, Peter Miller's trained the winner of this race the last 3 years, but he's only sending out Texas Wedge on Saturday, who has not looked good in recent races. I think your most likely morning line favorite is going to be Get Stormy, who has found new life as a sprinter, winning her last 2 races, including last out over this Keeneland turf. This is one of those races with a large field that you want to draw a good post, preferably somewhere between maybe like the 5 and the 10 or 5 and the 11, with that full 14-horse field. Like you said, it's a real short turf sprint. You need to have good position, and usually those first few post positions get cut off right at the start unless they can really fire out of the gate. Many of the horses can win this race, and it's going to come down to who gets the best trip.
All right, we didn't land on the same horse. I got Front Run Fred, and it's the Chad Brown horse. Just 3 starts, a win and a second. Looks like he's been, prep pointing strictly to this race. I like the pattern of the horse leading up to this race. You don't have that one on the radar. Am I missing something?
Well, Marco, when I was looking at these races, I was looking for who I thought was going to be installed as the morning line favorite. All the handicapping, like I said, hasn't been done yet. Waiting on jockey assignments, waiting on post positions, waiting on track conditions to make final decisions on that. Come next week, who knows who's going to end up in the guide as my top selection. But I'm just telling you, I think God Stormy will most likely be installed as your morning line favorite, but I don't think it's going to be any odds-on type favorite. I mean, I think your favorite in this race might be 3 or 4 to 1 on the morning line. I think there's a lot in here that can win.
All right. And moving on to race number 6 on the Saturday card. And I love some of these sponsors of the races. So I haven't said all of the sponsors on all of them, but I have to say this one because I just like this one. It is the $1 million Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Okay.
I just wanted to say it on the show. I actually enjoyed it a lot more when this was called the Las Vegas Dirt Mile.
Okay. Tell us about this one. Obviously, it's the Dirt Mile. I guess they're going a mile, huh, Sig?
They are going 1 mile in the dirt, and this race actually has a couple of horses in here that do have a first preference of another race. This is going to be another short field in here. I think if Vacoma was running here, which he is listed, but his first preference is a sprint, I see him going there. I would expect him to be the favorite. I think to me, it looks like either Art Collector or Complexity is going to be your morning line favorite in here. What was an interesting twist to me, though, is that they're putting War of Will back on the dirt after spending his entire 2020 campaign on the turf. I just think it's an interesting twist.
Yeah, that is surprising to me. And yes, if Vacoma's not in this race, then Art Collector is the horse that will be the favorite. I agree with you 100%. I think wherever Vacoma lands, that's a horse that's going to take a lot of money. That horse is racing really good right now, maybe the best of his career. Another horse that I like to call the Now horse, and again, I don't know which race this one will end up in. His first preference is the other one. Do you have any update on Global Campaign, where that one will be?
Global Campaign should be going in the Classic.
Okay. So we'll talk about that one in another race here in a minute. Let's go to race number 7, and that is the Maker's Mark Filly and Mare Turf. It is a mile and 3/16. This is one of those ones, again, where we talked about there's a couple horses where they land, and Mean Mary is one of those horses that's double entered. Where do you see Mean Mary going, and do you have Mean Mary as the favorite if she lands here?
Mean Mary should end up here in the Filly and Mare Turf. It is her first preference. Her second preference was the Breeders' Cup Turf. This is a race that's been dominated by the Euros here, as 14 of the 21 editions of the race have been won by European foaled horses. The big question to me, though, is what Euro, as there are many talented ones in here shipping in for the event. I think that Rushing Fall is going to be your morning line favorite, but there are many horses in here that can win. Some of the other ones to consider are, as you said, Mean Mary, I believe Adorea, Terabellum, Peaceful, Sister Charlie, and if she draws in Medea. See, I have a problem too with some of them.
Yeah, these when you bring these ones in from Europe, we get some crazy names, that's for sure. Mean Mary is a turf horse, Sig, that is not your traditional, style that usually does well on the turf. I mean, we always talk about the turf races. Those, it always seems that there's somebody flying out of the clouds in those turf races, but she likes to set the pace, and she can be mean on the front end there. And she's got 4 starts, 3 wins in the one race that she didn't win. Well, she was second by a neck. So definitely a horse there that's made her mark here in the U.S. and see what she can do against the invaders coming in from Europe. Race number 8 on Saturday. It is the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Always an interesting race. 6 furlongs on Saturday. And this race was probably the most cross-entered of all of the races. You look down the field, and all I see is first choice, second choice. Who's going to be in this race, Sig?
A lot of these horses, this was their first choice. They all did draw in. They all had second preferences. So I think the field that you're seeing is pretty much going to be the field that we see get to the gate. Like I mentioned earlier, Vekoma. Vekoma's won all 3 starts he's made this year. He's going to be your most likely morning line favorite. He may get a run from his money, though, from an undefeated 3-year-old in Japan, who's out of the barn of Steve Asmussen. There's a couple others in here I think might have a shot, including, we talked about it earlier, the filly, Frank's Rocket, is running here. Forenzi Fire, who looked good in his last in the Vosburg. And the revitalized CZ Rocket, who's suddenly become a much better horse at the age of 6 in the barn of Peter Miller. I don't know what they're feeding her, but... And one other horse to consider in here is Diamond Oops.
Well, I had 3 horses listed in here. Vekoma, obviously, if he's in here, this is going to be your favorite. The horse has just been outstanding this year. Frank's Rocket, I would have rather seen in the other race. And the horse that you mentioned last, CZ Rocket, since being in one part that you failed to mention, is this horse was claimed. How often do you get a horse claimed that you end up in a Breeders' Cup race? And
very often.
Yeah, and not only from the claim. So obviously changing barns made a big difference in this, but the other big difference was they changed this horse from a route horse to a sprint. And since they've gone to sprinting, that was the other key to this one. Maybe the feed that they have is only good for sprinters. I don't know. But this horse has taken just a big turnaround. It's going to be quite a story if a former claimer can end up taking a Breeders' Cup race. And that's the thing we like about horse racing. We love stories like this. And it's just been amazing. The horse is 5 for 5, last 5. We'll see what happens on Saturday. But yes, Vekoma is going to be the morning line favorite in this one. I agree 100%. Race 9 on the Saturday card, Sig, as we continue to move along, is the Breeders' Cup Mile. This one's on the turf, and because it's called the Breeders' Cup Mile, guess what, Sig? They're going a mile.
Really?
Who's going in here, Sig?
Oh, well, Marco, you know what? Every year, this seems to me to be the Breeders' Cup race that has the blow-up winner, the winner that comes out of the clouds. Didn't happen last year. Last year's champion, Uni, was pretty close to, wasn't odds on, but I think 2 to 3 to 1 came down. I think Uni's again going to be your morning line favorite as defending champion, but there's a ton of horses in here to consider that I think could win this race. Some of the other ones I think have a shot are Starship Jubilee, Factor This, Halliday, Ivar, who won at Keeneland last month, Kamiko, European Invader, One Master, another European Invader, Safe Voyage, and another one coming from Europe is Siskin. I think of a lot of horses can win in here, and I think if you're playing multi-race wagers, pick 4s, pick 5s, I think this is one place you might want to hit your all button.
Yeah, it's a wide open race. I had 2 horses written down in here when I was looking at it. I had the Factor This horse, 5 wins and 7 starts, 7 for 7 in the money. Got a hot trainer, Brad Cox. He's had a good year this year, Sig. The other one you didn't mention, Digital Age. Again, Chad Brown and I forget which horse it was that we talked about earlier. I like the way this horse is leading up to this race. This is the horse's 4th start of the year, has improved in each start. It's like Chad Brown was, that's what he was doing. He was pointing for this one, and he's got the horse heading in the right direction. And as you say, Chad Brown usually shows up on Breeders' Cup Day. This is one that I think is on the rise. Those were the 2 that I had circled on the initial look through on this field.
Can't disagree with you at all, Marco. Chad Brown knows how to get a horse ready for Breeders' Cup.
All right, going to race 10. This is one of the races that we will definitely be covering on our special video productions next week, where we're going to have individual races videos instead of one big long show. We're going to break it up into some of the key races. This will be one of them. It is the Breeders' Cup Distaff, and this is run at 1.125 miles, filly and mares. This is a interesting race with a couple very good fillies. Now, I know there was some cross-entering and speculation where one of them was going to end. Tell us where Swiss Skydiver will be.
Skydiver will end up in the Distaff. She was also cross-entered in the Classic, but her first choice is the Distaff, so she will go here. And I think this really comes down to two horses: your Preakness champion, Swiss Skydiver, and Monomoy Girl, who won this race back in 2018, missed it last year due to injury, and is back again this year. And all Monomoy Girl likes to do is win. Horse has more heart than a lot of horses I've seen in the past few years. She might have lost a step, but somehow she still finds a way. I think as long as they don't go way too fast on the front end, I think you're going to see Swiss Skydiver and Monomoy Girl battling right down the stretch.
Well, those are the two horses I had circled, and you talk about Monomoy Girl, 3 for 3 this year, 12 of 14 lifetime. That's not in the money, Sig. That's wins. 12 wins and 14 starts. Think about that. I know if I was an owner and I had a horse, 12 wins, 14 starts, and racing at the level that she's racing at, that is just unbelievable. In the two races that she didn't win, oh my God, she finished second. Okay. So you talk about the ultra consistent horse, and you talk about the injury, missed last year's race and stuff. The fact that they're still racing this horse where, she's a filly, they get a send her to the breeding shed very easily, starting to get some of those babies, out of her, because those are going to be worth a lot of money, those babies for sure. But tells you how much is left in the tank with this horse, that when she's right, she is still one of the best horses in the country. And I am looking forward to the battle of Swiss Skydiver and Monomoy Girl. And I'm glad that Swiss Skydiver is landing here. She proved it. She proved me wrong in the Preakness that she could go with the boys. She got it done. But this is the right move here, I believe, for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Race number 11 is the Breeders' Cup Turf. It is 1.5 miles. And this is a race where you get these 1.5 mile races, Sig, on the turf. Anything can happen. Normally, when we talk about turf races, we talk about closers, they come flying. But so often in these 1.5 mile races, nobody wants to make that move too soon. And sometimes those front-running horses can really still a race with a slow pace. And how do you see this one, and who lands up here, and who do you see as the morning line favorite?
This was definitely the toughest one on me, and I am glad I'm not the morning line maker over at Keeneland, because I can make a case for 3 horses being favored in this field, and I think more even in here can win this race. The 3 that I believe that might end up being your morning line favorites are Magical, coming from Ireland, the filly Tarnawa, who we had talked about earlier as possibly being in the filly and mare turf, and then United, who almost won this race last year at odds of 51-1, just got nipped at the wire. Many others can win in here, and like you said, it's going to really depend on how the race shapes up based on the early pace. And basically, it comes down to the jocks a lot of the times, and we won't know who's riding some of these horses till after they draw the post positions on Monday. But there's some jocks that just know when to press the button and go. And at the end of these long 1.5 mile races on the turf, the closers definitely have the advantage.
Yeah, and let's just throw something out there. We talk about it all the time in regards to jockeys. A lot of these horses, because these are the best horses in the country and the world for that matter. And a lot of times during the season, they avoid one another. Okay. Why knock heads? Somebody goes here and another horse points to a different race, so they don't have to, have that duel where one will be, first or the other one be second, where you can go to another race and be the winner. So you're going to have some driver jockey conflicts where maybe they were riding, two different horses, and then they get to the Breeders' Cup and they might have a decision. And we've talked over and over, jockeys make their money based on what the horse earns. Okay. So they're going to make the best, what they feel is the best choice, the majority of the time. Sometimes they will make a decision based on a certain barn gives them, all of their mounts. They might be loyal in that case and maybe not take the best horse in that particular occasion. But for the most part, they're taking who they feel is the best horse. And that's an angle that you can use in your handicapping as well. So just wanted to put that out there. I know we've said that over and over again, but there's going to be a lot of new people betting for, maybe the first time Breeders' Cup and that, and we want to educate them on some handicapping tidbits. The United horse, I have him on my radar. The only thing that bothered me this year, and he's raced super, is this will be the first grade 1 this year for United. So that bothered me a little bit. I was intrigued by the Invader from France, Tawana. This is a horse 3 for 3 this year. Last raced 1 month ago, then shipped here right away. Has been training here. I like if they would have had a race here, but you can't have everything. But the horse has been here for several weeks and has been training well. So that's a horse that's on my radar. And one of the other ones was Channel Maker. I think this is a horse that's improving and is coming into this race in peak form. And if you go back and look at the horse in earnings, this horse has a ton of back class. He's got 2.6 million in earnings. So the horse knows how to make money, and that's another horse on my radar. Moving on to the last one, and it is the big one. This is the one everybody waits for every year. This is the one that a lot of times will determine horse of the year, and it is the Breeders' Cup Classic. It is at the 1.25 miles. And this is just one freaking loaded race, Sig. And you've got a horse that has got 10 wins and 13 lifetime starts and has been a favorite in almost every single race the horse has run and probably will not be the favorite in here. And that's Maximum Security. Tell us about this race.
Marco, the Classic is the race everybody looks forward to all year long. And this is, like you said, a loaded field in here. Actually, though, the biggest race of the weekend, it's probably the easiest one for me to guess your morning line favorite, as I believe Improbable who's coming in here riding a 3-race winning streak and beating many of the fellow competitors in this field. I think he's going to be installed as your morning line favorite and your most likely post-time favorite. I don't think the field's going to make this race easy on him, as I see a number of horses, including the aforementioned Maximum Security, setting a fast early pace in here, which could set this race up nicely for a closer. And there's a couple of those in here. One's going to be shorter odds, one's going to be longer odds, and I like both of them.
Yeah, I will say this much in this race, and as far as Improbable goes, Sig, if we were talking 6 months ago, Breeders' Cup Classic, the favorite, it would have been highly improbable that we would have been talking about Improbable because, this was a horse that had problem after problem, was one of the favorites on the Derby Trail last year. And, things just didn't go his way, whether it was racing luck, whatever. This year has totally turned it around. And the thing that I will say, yeah, you're right, Maximum Security, we know which way he's going to race. Authentic's in here. This is a horse, Authentic, that, 7 for 7 in his career, first or second. But what happens in the Breeders' Cup Classic so often is you get the battle, and it's another handicapping factor that you got to put in there is Authentic was racing against all 3-year-olds all season long. This will be the first time he's racing against older horses. But when you get to November, horses generally from their 2-year-old season and their 3-year-old campaign have had enough races that they're basically a 4-year-old. Okay. They're 2 months away from all horses, turn their birthday January 1st, blah, blah, blah. But experience factor. This is a horse that still has only had 7 lifetime starts. So we haven't seen the peak yet on Authentic. So this horse still has a license to go up there. And let's not forget, it's almost like he got lost in the shuffle because he didn't race in the Preakness and he didn't win the Kentucky Derby. But the horse that was all the talk of the town was Tiz the Law. And now he's almost like, I don't want to say an afterthought, but he's not in the headlines in the discussions leading up to this race. And I thought it was a brilliant move to skip the Preakness. After he didn't win the Derby, go for the big race, point for there, get the horse right. And I know that there was a lot of discussion right after the race where the trainer was saying one thing, the owner was saying another, and the owner even made a reference. Well, the owner owns the horse, but in the end, the trainer made the right decision and talked the connections into skipping the Preakness and pointing to this one. Do you think it's a redemption day for Tiz the Law?
I think Tiz the Law's definitely got a shot in here. He's been training really well. You can catch some of the video of his training if you go on to YouTube or check on Twitter. There are videos. He likes to train really early in the morning before the sun comes up. They get him out there. He's looked really fast on the track, and I think he is going to be one of the horses that will be near the top of the betting with basically on the odds. I see improbable Tiz the Law and Tom's Day Ata being your betting favorites come post time on Saturday.
Tom Day Ata, you think is going to end up getting a lot of money?
I think he's going to get some money, yeah.
Sounds like he might be getting some of Sig's money.
Oh, yeah, there's 2 closers I like, and one of them is Tom's Day Ata. You're giving away my secrets, Marco.
Oh, my God. Okay. And one last comment on Tiz the Law. You said he likes the morning, get out there early and work. So you're saying he is the anti-Sig horse because Sig doesn't
Sig doesn't like mornings.
Just a little sidebar here with Sig. He's on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast. And I am texting him before he's up most days. And you got a 3-hour head start on me, buddy. I send that text, I'm up at 6:30. Okay, it's all right to send the text at 6:30. It's 9:30 back on the East Coast. And maybe an hour later, I get a reply.
Call some names for waking me up some mornings, but we won't go there.
All right. Well, there is a do not disturb button on the phone. You know that.
I got 2 kids that can call me anytime.
All right. Well, we'll teach you how you can set them so that they can come through even on do not disturb. So if they're important people, they can come through. But I should be on that important person list too. So we'll
talk about that.
Where are you staying next week?
We'll
talk about that. All right. Sig, once again, let's tell everybody about that Breeders' Cup preview guide you've got going. Tell listeners where they can find that and how they can save $10. Act now.
All right, guys, go to WagerTalk.com. Look for experts because scroll down through the many, including my partner in crime here, Marco D'Angelo. Scroll down to Sig. That'll take you right to my homepage at the WagerTalk site. On there, you're able to find not only my daily racing selections. Today we covered Churchill, but you can pre-order that Breeders' Cup preview and wagering guide. Like I said, it's an evolving document. So right now, if you order before Monday at midnight, save 25%, $29.99. After that, it reverts back to $39.99. What you get is I get background information on all the races, historical information on Breeders' Cup results and post positions, etc. How the wagering's played out over the years, and then what you get is an in-depth analysis of every horse in the field. Hopefully all that will be up by Thursday for you. The document's constantly evolving, so I note on the homepage at WagerTalk as well as via Twitter whenever I do an update to the guide, you're able to just go back into your account and download the most recent version. So as I get each race done, I'll add the information and the analysis of each horse. Come Thursday night into Friday, you're going to get all my full card selections for Friday's Keeneland card, as well as how I'm going to attack the wagering. Daily doubles, pick threes, pick fours, exact the trifecta type wagers. We'll see how the track plays out on Friday, and then Friday evening, late Friday, early Saturday morning, I'll have my Saturday selections on there, as well as all the wagering strategies again. There's a lot of really interesting wagers that are on the card, including some special daily doubles that take Friday races and Saturday races. The pick fives and the pick fours have guaranteed pulls. The late pick five, the late pick four, guaranteed minimum $2 million. It'll be way more. People love to bet on Breeders' Cup, these huge fields, these horses coming from all around the world. You get some great odds. You get some great wagering opportunities. And all we got to do is be right a couple times, and we're going to show a profit for the day.
Yes, Sig, I'll just add to that. We talk about it every year when we do the Kentucky Derby and say about, why we would wager more on that one particular race than any other race during the course of the year. It's because the pools are all inflated and you're going to get some big payouts those days. And that's the same thing with Breeders' Cup. And when you have Breeders' Cup Day, it's like every race is like a mini Kentucky Derby, basically, and you'll have everybody there. Yes, it'll be done on a Saturday in college football, but it still will get a lot of attention. The sports books, it's crazy. And follow Sig and I on Twitter because we will have a lot of shots around town on Friday and Saturday. We'll be out sports books and hitting the sports books, race books, making some wagers and just shenanigans and everything with Sig and I, and we'll be having a good time. And also, I want to plug one thing for me, Sig. We got a special going over at WagerTalk. It is the November thank you special. This has been a crazy year. 2020, I can't wait till we turn the calendar, get to 2021, and hopefully things will head in the right direction. But we want to thank everybody for all their loyal support during 2020. And we're offering the month of November, all access. Normally $349 for this package. You can pick it up for $199. What that gets you is all of my plays, all sports. And yes, it includes my plays for the Breeders' Cup action. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I am not going to have plays in every race of the Breeders' Cup just because of time constraints for me, is I have to handicap football and all of the other shows that I do for WagerTalk. But I will have some of the big races, what I am playing, and I will include that for my clients. So you can pick that up by signing up for the month of November and get all of my plays in our football. Going back to last year, we're on a 57% run with our college and pro football. And a little humble brag on another show I do. You guys watch me here on Pony Pundits. You know that we do bet on it. That comes out every Wednesday and Monday, where we break down the NFL games. We also give each of us on the show, Kelly Stewart and Gianni the Greek, we have a college best bet. Guys, if you tuned into the show last week, 13-4-1 combined with the three of us on the show. And if you followed the best bets the last 3 weeks, 13-2-1. Well, there was a best bet last night, and it cashed Atlanta. So the best bet's now up to 14-2-1. It's just been an incredible run. Check out that show. Also, follow all of the shows that we do at WagerTalk. There's shows every day. We've got so many live shows that we put out in the morning. And then you could always follow up and check the shows out on our YouTube channel. And as we always say, guys, you like the shows we do, do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Leave us a comment. we come back in, we check the comment section and such. And until next week, be on the lookout for those individual race videos. They're coming next week. We'll have them up sometime on Thursday. And till next week, Sig, have a good weekend. You're covering right now Churchill Downs.
Churchill through the weekend, and then next week it'll just be Keeneland for Breeders' Cup Friday, Saturday, and I don't know where I'll be, if I'll have anything on Sunday or not.
Yeah, if we have a very good day on Saturday, don't expect to see Sig. Anytime Sunday morning, we'll be here in Vegas and celebrating a big Breeders' Cup card. And like you said, you don't have to cash too many tickets on Breeders' Cup Day to turn a profit with the inflated pools. And you catch one race with a long shot in there, and Sig likes to text me when he hits a big one, balloons! So hopefully we get some big balloons on Saturday. Till next week, he is Sig Las Vegas. I'm Marco D'Angelo. Follow me on Twitter as well, Marco in Vegas. We'll be back next week, guys. Thanks for tuning into the show. We'll see you next week. Good luck. Cash those tickets, and may you be on the right side of all those photo finishes and head bobs. See you next week.